guys, welcome back to Our Non-Toxic Podcast. I'm Hannah, and we are here for episode number 89. I didn't think I was going to be able to join you for a solo episode until episode 90, but unfortunately the guest that I had scheduled for today has a sick child, so I won't spoil who it is for you because hopefully she will appear soon, but it is a she, and she does have offspring. So narrow it down with that criteria, if you will. First and foremost, we're going to go straight into the report because I want to crack this bad boy open. This is going to be a cream soda Olipop. Stay tuned for ASMR. Yeah. Thank you to Come and Go for supplying me today with this treat. Cheers. I just spilled it. That's great. Love it. Anyways, it's approximately 98 degrees in the studio today because there's a heat advisory out for Southwest Missouri. It is currently 1:26 in the afternoon, and it's just been baking all day. So in the future, whenever I have more brain cells functioning, I will be not recording past noon because that's too toasty. But for now, I will power through. I am one of God's strongest warriors. I think this is something that I can handle. Like I said, going into the report. First, what am I reading? Assassin's Blade. I'm doing the reading order that has been recommended to me the most through TikTok. If you guys care about this, there's basically a prequel, and there's certain books that you read in tandem. Some people say you should, some people say you shouldn't. There's like this prequel book. You can read it before the series as book 3 or as book 4. I'm reading as book 3. That's just what I saw as the predominant fan theory, so that's what I'm going with. I read Throne of Glass, is it Crown of Midnight? Yes. I read them back to back, flew through them. They're so good. I was just really in need of something to sink my teeth into. Luckily, that book series has scratched the itch for me thus far. Unfortunately, my sleep is suffering because of it, but amazing. So we're back in the prequel, rolling with that one. If you want to hear my thoughts about it, let me know. I may or may not share them because I may or may not forget. Again, what am I eating? This is difficult, less sugar. Difficult because of who I am as a person. I, as you guys know, am nothing if not a sweet tooth. Love candy for breakfast. Love sugary coffees. I love desserts. Days for me are not complete or fulfilling until I have had something sweet. I don't really have a threshold for too much sugar. There's not really a ceiling. There's kind of a minimum that I try and hit, a quota per day, and the ceiling just doesn't really exist. But I've been trying to cut back for health reasons, and none of them are like dietary or aesthetic. It's just partly because I don't think I should be consuming that much sugar. And also it probably is a little bit concerning that I don't have that thing that people like take a bite of a dessert and like, oh my gosh, it's too rich, I can't finish it. I have never had that. And part of me thinks it's because of the bloodline that I was born into also doesn't feel that way. Diabetes also runs rampant in my family. Unrelated, I'm sure. But I think I've just desensitized myself to having so much sugar all the time that now I have a very sweet coffee or a dessert and just nothing tastes that sweet anymore. So I decided to put all of these things into my current stage, which is I just got to reel it back in. I was traveling so much in June. I was gone constantly, even all of last year, like the past 12 months, not the past like calendar year. It was just so full of airport food and junk food and gas station food and road trip food and everything that I probably shouldn't be having. Lots of red 40 dye. But I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to go on any kind of fitness journey. It's genuinely just because I need to be healthier. And we can dive into that later. But all that to say, I'm eating less sugar. Very sad for me, but I'll get through it. What am I playing? Pop music has been ruling my life right now. And let me just say, for somebody who makes their whole personality having a non-mainstream taste in music, this is very difficult. This is a hard pill to swallow. I am somebody who, I'm not like other girls. I'm so different. I love 90s grunge music. I love old rock music. I love 80s music, 70s music. I love all of those things. And there's like a weird sense of pride with that, being like, oh, I listen to the Cars. I listen to Nirvana, which that's not that uncommon. Those are very popular bands. Those are very mainstream bands as well. However, I just have never really been a big pop girl, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's always that weird, like, this makes me different. And now I come to you humbly to say I have Dua Lipa, Sabrina Carpenter, Charlie XCX. All the girlies are in my Spotify on repeat right now, and everything is just so good. The pop music, it's punchy, it's fun, it's upbeat. It's like you guys knew what you're talking about this entire time. So I've just been on a huge pop kick recently. Like everything is just girly and summery, and I'm just loving it. So if you see me bopping around at a stoplight, that's probably honestly your preference as compared to me doing screamo songs to Smells Like Teen Spirit in my car. So pop music, up. Love it. Highly recommend it. Personally, I think Dua Lipa, slept on. Very slept on. I didn't really know who she was. I tend to confuse a lot of pop artists with each other, which is not a very girls girl thing of me to do. But if I don't listen to their music, I don't know the distinguishing features between all of them. So I didn't really know much about her. And now listening to her music, I think she's wonderful. I think she's such a good dancer. I want to be here sometimes. She's amazing. Again, pop music, up. What am I obsessing over? There's a long answer for this and there's a short answer for this. The long answer for this is I'm obsessing over putting my feelings in a box. I'm obsessing over shoving all of my feelings that I don't want to process deep down, putting them into a box, and sealing that box real tight, like a space bag, and not accessing it right now. That is one thing I'm obsessing over. The second thing I'm obsessing over is Wolverine. Hugh Jackman, more specifically, that's been big for me. It's been pretty world-changing. I, as you can imagine, saw Deadpool and Wolverine last Friday. It was fantastic. It was a lot of things that I feel like I wouldn't have appreciated if I didn't have the rampant X-Men phase that I did. For me, the X-Men obsession happened between like 4th grade and probably 7th grade. And let me tell you a little bit about my X-Men obsession. So I saw the first movie with a friend going to the lake, and I just wasn't a movie watcher growing up. So everything that I was exposed to was like almost on accident because I didn't seek it out for myself. Saw the first X-Men movie. Something was awoken within me. I was a changed individual. Watched the next 2 movies. I begged my parents to take me to like the Diamond video store in Nixa so I could rent them, watch them over and over. Finally, we bought them back when you could still buy DVDs at Entertainment. I think I still have them. Watched them without ceasing, probably just on a loop over and over. Watched all the cartoons, got the comic books. That honestly kickstarted my comic book phase because I got into the movies and then the shows, and it just snowballed from there into deep, deep, obsessive, concerning territory. Loved it so much. This is also how I discovered the world of fan fiction. And I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I just want to note how funny it is now that I can look back and see how me as like a 10 to 12-year-old was online reading fan fictions about Wolverine, Logan, who's like the most masculine, hairy, alcoholic, just middle-aged character. And for some reason, that's who my young heart chose. I was like, I love him. I could change him. I want to be with him. And in my fan fiction history, there would be all these stories about, he falls in love with this main character that, of course, is the reader, i.e. me. And I remember being like 11 or 12 years old, reading these fan fictions, being like, yeah, he totally would stumble home from the bar and into my arms. Obviously, he would do that. And in the fan fictions, they would have like references to different kinds of alcohol. They would say things like, oh, yeah, bourbon or whiskey or whatever else. And I was like, correct. Yes, that's what he drinks. Had no idea what those things were. Did not. Anyways, I'm trying not to talk about fan fiction publicly because it should be embarrassing. I should have more shame. However, looking back now, seeing him while I myself am a grown 25-year-old individual, and the feelings are still there. They just lie dormant in me. It was great. So like I said, he is one of my obsessions. If you haven't seen the movie, it's fantastic. But if you haven't been entrenched in like Marvel lore, even Sony X Marvel lore, you probably wouldn't find it as interesting. It's a funny movie, but all the like Easter eggs and funny little things that they include are really for the people who've been fans to a degree that they probably have done little else. And that's where I was. So I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. But I digress. Next, what am I recommending? I'm recommending taking all of my advice. This is a great episode. I have lots of notes. I've actually been putting them down as I've been thinking of them for the past 2 weeks because I haven't had a guest, or I have had guests. I haven't had a solo episode, so I wanted to make sure that I compiled all of these things. So I have lots to say. It's also advice that I'm currently taking. So my recommendation is that you take the advice and we can be all in this together. Cue the High School Musical soundtrack. Next, what am I treating myself to? Full circle. A cream soda Olipop. Break for a sip. Wouldn't it be nice if I had some kind of production crew that could cut all of those out and it wouldn't be obnoxious for those to listen to. Where to begin? Oh, how about with my detailed notes? First, I got an Oura ring. I don't know if you guys can tell. Looks like every other ring from that distance. This Oura ring has been recommended to me approximately 97 times, but I hadn't pulled the trigger on it because it's kind of pricey and I just don't like to spend money on things that aren't heavily discounted. But I've told you a million times my plight with tracking temperature in the morning. I just make it unnecessarily stressful, as I tend to do with lots of things. It's honestly a gift. So it just wasn't really sustainable for me because it genuinely was affecting my sleep, because I was waking up like anxious earlier and earlier every day, afraid that I was going to forget to take it. And it's just not that serious. So especially when there are many other solutions, since I'm unable to regulate apparently my stress, then this was the best option. It also was on sale on Prime Day. These usually are like $400 something, and I got it for $250. But part of the difference in pricing is the gold ones cost more than the silver ones, and the sizing is all whack, and it varies based on the price and the size and etc. Anywho, this one is the silver size 6. For some reason, it's significantly cheaper than all the rest of them, even for the same type of ring. So size discrimination maybe at play, but my knobby little fingers fit perfectly into this one. So it's been great. It's been tracking everything. It does make me feel like life and health is kind of a game. So if you're somebody who needs to be motivated in the sense that you need to feel like you're competing for something in order to take care of yourself, because health and longevity of life isn't really your main motivator. I get it. I do. This is a great investment for you, because every day it gives you a score based on your previous day's activity, how you slept, how you eat versus the calories that you burn, and it gives you an overall readiness score for the day. If you worked out a lot, didn't sleep quite as long as you should, your score is lower. Or if you work out a lot and you sleep a lot, your score is great. And if you're managing your stress, you're recovering well, things like oxygen saturation are always measured. It's really cool, actually. So then every day I wake up and I check my score. And for me, it's almost like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, similar to my Spotify day list. Let me explain. If I wake up in a bad mood and then my score says 98, it says you slept well, you had a restful sleep, you feel amazing, you're ready to take on the day. Then I second guess myself. I'm like, do I feel bad? Am I still tired? I don't think I am, because the technology is telling me that I am fully rested and ready to conquer the world. So then I change my opinion and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in a good mood today. Or if I wake up in a good mood and I go and check my Spotify day list and it's like gloomy, weepy, sad girl hours, melancholy Tuesday morning, all of a sudden I think, oh, am I sad? Is there something I should feel sad about? Should I be upset about something? And then I will just take Spotify's lead and choose to be sad the rest of the day. Hey guys, I'm back. You didn't know that there was an interruption, but there was. I had texted my husband, Austin John Reuter, and said, I'm going into the studio. Don't call me. I'm about to record. I'll call you when I'm done. Because if he calls, it messes up my equipment. And Austin and I are codependent, and we talk on the phone about 12 times a day. So I was being preemptive since he was in a meeting. I couldn't call him and say, hey, don't call me. I'm going to podcast. So I text him. What does he do? Not read the text, calls me. I said, did you read my text? He said, no, I just figured I'd call you. You guys, this wouldn't be that big of a deal if I hadn't just had trauma with losing the entire audio file for last week's episode, which was one of my favorite episodes yet. The episode with Tatiana, if you haven't listened to it, I really, really beg and implore you to, only because she's so wise, she's smart, she's insightful, she's well-spoken, she's just incredible. And she's helped me through so many things in my life, whether I know that I'm going through something or not. She just has helped me through issues that I didn't even know that I was having with imposter syndrome or self-image and business and everything. She's just made me a better person, wife, entrepreneur, etc. But the audio file was lost. I was so mad. It had been such a great day, honestly. I had this experience with her where she just spoke straight into my soul. I did cry. If you guys didn't watch the episode, I cried. So if you feel like watching me do that, you can just tune back in. Just please bear with me, because I did doctor up the audio as much as I could, but it's not perfect and I was devastated. So very sad. But it was such a good day, and I got home and I had the episode edited and I was exporting it and I didn't have enough storage. And then there was like an option where Apple says offload unused files. So I said, yeah, offload those bad boys. I don't need them. Obviously, they're unused. And somehow Apple offloaded the portion of my hard drive that had the audio file for that episode. And the way it did something, it wasn't in the trash bin. I couldn't recover it. I even went and downloaded a whole different software to try and find unrecoverable files. It was a disaster. I was so upset. I was throwing a huge meltdown fit over it. Because, it's one thing whenever you have something go wrong, it always sucks. In this situation, this had gone so perfectly right. I was like, God was present in that studio. It was so great. That's going to help so many people. It helped me. It was just a beautiful episode. I was so proud of it. I love her. And obviously, I want to have a great episode product to show to her. And when she listens back, being like, that was such a great production. And the file was lost. And I was like, are you serious? And there's just nothing more frustrating because you can't duplicate an episode. And this has happened in the past, especially whenever Brie and I first started the podcast, where we didn't really know what we were doing, where there would just be technical difficulties. And sometimes things are lost and you can't do anything about them. And it's just so disheartening because whenever you're kind of on a roll and you're talking and you have high energy and then it's just lost, it's so difficult because I don't know if it's harder whenever you're with someone or whenever you're by yourself, because I've had it happen both times. Sometimes whenever you're by yourself, it's already awkward to rally the energy to speak to yourself in a room for an hour. But then if you just do all of that and you have your jokes and your punchlines and your energy and whatever, and then the episode is scrapped and then you have to sit right back down shamefully and be like, do I have it in me to redo all of that and the energy and be like, hey guys, all over again with my eyes twitching and my hands are shaking and I'm just a shell of a person. But with a guest, it's even harder because it's not like you can re-elicit those same emotions and the same things that pop up, and sometimes it all blends together. You're like, did I say that this episode or last? I don't know. Anyways, it's a first world problem, but very frustrating. So I was devastated, needless to say. So when Austin called me, I said, you love him and you are a child of God. You love him and you're a child of God. But it's fine. I still have the first 13 minutes. So really the crisis was fully averted. I just felt like telling you all of that. Anyways. Okay. I am incredibly sore. Again, this is not really important. It's just things that I felt like mentioning. And since I haven't had a solo episode for a while, I just thought, why not talk about it? I have been working out more in the gym. I've been doing less cardio, probably because it's just too hot outside to do my preferred type of cardio, which is running stairs. And I just prefer to, again, these are all preferences. I could just adjust my schedule, but I don't. I just choose to adjust my entire workout. I like to work out in the afternoon because it helps me break up my workday, especially on days that I work from home. So it's not just morning workout and then home for work and then home for leisure. So I do my work from home and then I work out and then I go back home and it breaks up the day. There's a method to all this madness, I swear. But it's just too hot. It's almost dangerously hot. I do enjoy a good sweat, but whenever it's 98 degrees and I'm probably not having enough water anyways, though I'm trying to work on it, it's just not good. So I'm cutting back on that. So I've been in the gym more and I have been I hit leg day too hard yesterday. But all my workouts harder than I should for somebody who's not been fully into it. I lift weights probably twice a week and I'm back on a regular 4-day split and doing full workouts, not just kind of upper body, lower body. I'm breaking it up more. It's extensive. Probably not 100% correct in the way that I do it because I don't like tutelage or guidance, but I'm sore. Seems to be a good step in the direction that I want to go. But yesterday I did a whole leg day and honestly, I was pretty grouchy whenever I went into it. I was just not having one of those high energy days. And I was listening to the right music on the way there. And I'm like, you know what? It's leg day. I don't feel like doing it, but I'll knock it out anyways. I'll just do what I can. So, and then it was perfect amount of endorphins where as the workout progressed, I was like, I can do one more set. I can do one more thing. I can do one more thing. And the next thing you know, I'm energized. I'm fired up. I'm feeling good. I could run through a brick wall. The soundtrack was soundtracking. Everything was great. So then at the end of it, I was like, I need to work on my mobility. That's a random goal that I have. I just want to be better. I'll see a video on TikTok and then think, oh, I should make that my whole personality. And that's what happened. I saw this girl working on all these mobility drills and I was like, hey, I can probably do that. So what do you know? I've been working on it. And I was doing a few different sets. It's a pistol squat, a squat that I can't think of where you crouch down and touch your back knee to the ground. Look on my Instagram for a visual if you would like. But I don't know the name of it. The next one is a dragon squat where you squat down with one leg, bend your other leg around it and touch your heel. It's a whole thing. Like I said, I can't describe it to you, but you could watch it if you wanted to. So I was doing sets of those where it's like pistol squat right leg, pistol squat left leg, and you go through the whole sequence, right, left, right, left. Then I was like, let's make this harder and do them all on one foot, like do right leg through 1, 2, and 3 without putting your left foot down, then do left leg through all 3 of them without putting your right foot down. And then, of course, I did a few of those. I'm like, I should film this. This is awesome. So I'm filming it. And at that point, I've done a whole leg workout. I'm tired, I'm sore, and I'm shaky because I've been doing all these things for 15 minutes. So I have to end on a good note, especially when the cameras are rolling. Come on. So I'm continuing to do these things. I'm toppling over. The gym is crowded. Luckily, like I said before, I have no shame. I'll fall over in the middle of the gym. I don't care because I'm trying something new. You should admire that. You should be proud that I'm going outside the box, off the beaten path. This is great. So here I am making a fool of myself because I can't keep my balance on the last dragon squat every time. So I keep going and keep going and keep going. I did this for like 45 minutes and I couldn't get a good enough one where I felt like proud enough to end on. I was like, I can do better. I can do better. Meanwhile, everything is suffering because I'm tired and my legs are shaky and now I'm unable to walk. And the thing is, if you've ever been muscle sore from a really difficult leg workout, you know that day 1 is deceptively bad. It's day 2 and maybe even like day 3 a little bit that are the worst days because it really sets in. So the fact that I was starting to get sore last night, I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I've made a grave mistake. And then today I woke up and I did that thing where you get out of bed and you're like, oh, you're moving like you haven't been defrosted in 38 years. That's how I feel. I'm moving like my husband. He's 30 years old and needs some oil on his joints. But I will make it through. Next, I had a video go viral. You guys might have seen it if you're on Mark Zuckerberg's internet. It was about Glenn Powell in the Twisters movie. It was like a funny little thing that I thought of going into the movie, and my friends and I are going to go see it. Like, we should make this video. It would be hilarious. Basically, it's with one of our friends' boyfriends holding the camera. He comes up to us and he's like, excuse me, ladies, what movie are you here to see? And then all of us in perfect sync say, Glenn Powell. And then he says, no, what movie are you here to see? And we say, Glenn Powell. I thought it was hilarious. Went somewhat viral on both TikTok and Instagram, which is rare. It's hard to get one to do anything besides like 300 views, let alone 2. But like I said, it was comedic gold. So I posted this and it starts to blow up and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then on TikTok, people start making fun of our accents. And I had no idea we even had them. Even though we do live in the Midwest, I always think that my dialect is the default. This is normal. Anything that's different than mine is like either a Southern drawl or an English accent or a Yankee accent. These are all like variations of my speech. This is the original because this is my only vantage point, right? So people start making fun of it and commenting Glenn Powell, like P-A-H-L. And I'm listening back to the video and I'm like, we're saying Powell. We're saying Powell. But then maybe we just don't enunciate. I don't know. But people were just making fun of us for having an accent and I didn't love that, which leads me to say I don't think I could ever actually be famous. Reading the comments on something that was literally of no consequence. It was even me in a group. It wasn't me singularly. And seeing how people just take things and they're like, what's a Glenn Powell? What is that? And you want to be like, what's an Amelia? Okay? And just clap back at these people because why are you being rude? What was the point? You know this is a joke. Have you heard of satire? Do you like to laugh? Is there color in your life? Evidently not. So it just makes me so mad. And I know that there are things that you just shouldn't take seriously and you shouldn't comment back, but I couldn't help it. I was commenting back on all of them. And one of the girls commented and she's like, I think I'm literally the only girl on the planet that doesn't think he's attractive. That is amazing. Wow, that is so good for you. So I just commented back and said, please contact the government. I think they've been looking for you. Because what do you say to that? That's amazing. It's just funny that people think like everything needs a response. Even though I will say when my coffee kicks in the morning and I'm feeling great, I'm feeling like the sun is shining on my back and I am the first person to ever just experience pure, unfiltered joy, then I'll start commenting on everything. I'll reply to everyone's story. I'll comment on TikToks and reels of strangers. I'm commenting on like Marvel fan pages run by nerds, my people. I'm commenting on everything. And it's like it's nothing that I even have a hot take on or have anything to say. I'm just commenting. So I do get it in a sense. It's just that my comments tend to be positive and I like to think they enhance the life of those who view the comment versus what's a Glenn Powell? Anyways. Okay, next. yeah, that's all my notes for life, guys. That's crazy. Let me sip my drink. I hope that's not so annoying. It's just that there's not like a quick way to drink your beverage. Let me get comfortable for this one. Also, I hope you guys like my hair. I did it for attention. Last week, I curled my hair like this out of necessity because I had really messy pool hair and it just wouldn't do anything besides frizz up. And I curled a couple pieces thinking like I could get away with curling only a few. And then in comparison, the curled pieces looked so polished and shiny and the other pieces looked like a disaster, which is kind of what I just did to my hair. So then I had to go through and curl the entire thing, and I haven't curled my hair, especially with a wand, in a long time. But I got so many compliments on it, and people on Instagram, all my girls were like, oh my gosh, I love your hair like this. You have to do it again. And there's one thing about compliments from women. I will take them so seriously, and here's what we're doing now. I don't really know how to like let it lay correctly because I haven't had every single piece of my hair curled in a while, but I did this because the girls told me to. So hopefully you like it because it's for you. We're talking about health today. Health in every aspect, health in every realm, health that transcends all these different boundaries that we have. And I have written down my notes because I'm trying to pursue overall health as well. And girl, it's hard. It's difficult because there's so many different facets. There's so many moving pieces. And I feel like every time I do something, I do it to an extent that then can take a healthy thing and make it not so. I'm trying to be better about that, but it's a learning process. First, I think we should dive into social health, which is not always discussed, but I think that it's very important to talk about what helps me keep healthy social boundaries, feel like I have a healthy, good social life, and so on. First of all, I think that you have to adopt this mentality of being unable to be offended by things because 9 times out of 10, actually, let's go further, 99.99 times out of 100, it's not a slight at you. We've said this before. People don't do things to you most of the time. They do things for themselves. And there's a huge difference. Like if somebody cancels plans last minute, they bail on you, they can't do something, you don't get invited somewhere. It's not screw you, I hate you, I want you to suffer. It's I want to do this more. I want to do this more than I want to do your thing. And that isn't like the most noble thing. It's not great, but whenever we take it so personally and make it, you did this to me, she did that, she canceled this, she, whatever, you're making it about you when in reality, they just didn't think about you. They did their own thing. They have their own priorities. They have their own lives. And they were thinking about what works best for them, what fits best for them. And that's it. And I hope that the way I'm explaining it can click for you the way it clicks for me. Because it seriously was like one day I woke up and I'm like, they're not doing that against me. Nobody's doing this to hurt me or hurt my feelings or to leave me out or to upset me. People just do things for themselves. Like if somebody doesn't come to your birthday dinner, I know that's a sensitive thing for a lot of people. They can't go, whatever else. They're not doing it to be like, I actually don't care about you and I hope you don't have a good birthday and I hope that the rest of your year actually sucks. That's how it feels when someone says, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Especially if you then go online later and you see them watching a movie with their boyfriend or doing something else. They're not doing it to hurt you or to spite you or to anything else. They're just doing it because that's what's better for them. And honestly, I think that, yes, there should be a line where if we all just did what was best for ourselves, we wouldn't ever be willing participants in society. For example, I would never go to a baby shower or a bridal shower ever again because I hate them. But it's not just for me. At some point, we as the decision maker have to decide that showing up for someone else is more important than doing what we would probably prefer to do. But then finding a balance between a society that always tells us we should be doing what is expected of us and then some all the time. You can't be everything to everyone. You can't always show up. In the opposite vein, you can't expect everyone to always show up for you, to always do things for you, to always come through for you. So whenever you feel like they didn't invite me somewhere, or she didn't text me back, or she copied my Instagram post, or other hard-hitting issues, don't think of it like that. Just think they didn't invite you because they probably just made the plans and they weren't thinking about you. They didn't text you back because their kids started crying or because they spilled coffee on themselves and they got mad, or they just didn't text you back because the TV episode that they were wanting to watch came on and they got distracted. Like it happens. We're all people. Hiccups. Sorry, I got excited. But you can't put all this pressure on other people to do things to your standard all the time, because it's unfair to project that on other people in the same way you wouldn't want them to project all their expectations back onto you. I hope that makes sense. But just remember, try to be unoffendable. If people aren't including you in something, if people aren't commenting on your Instagram post with all the love and the admiration and the support you put into theirs, because that does sound silly, and I'm saying it kind of tongue in cheek, but sometimes it's true. I feel like we've all had different situations in the social media realm where it's like you support someone so much and you're always commenting on their stuff and you're saying, oh my gosh, like slay queen, slay the house down mama. You're saying all these things and then it's just not shown back to you. And it seems so simple, but you're like, would it be that difficult though for you to comment, hear me out, something back on my post? Would that be asking too much? If it is, I understand. But you get it. It's sometimes those little things where you're like, why am I then going above and beyond? It's just one of those continual life situations that you have to see things through other people's lens. And honestly, life is just better if you're not as easily offended, because I tend to be a grudge holder. I don't know if you subscribe to Zodiac nonsense. I do, to an extent. I'm a Scorpio, and we are a vengeful people. We are an angry people. And I feel that in my soul. But it's not fun. Like, I've had people that have wronged me, that have done things to me professionally that I haven't loved, that have done things to me personally or said things about me. And I would like to hold a grudge, and I would like to be, hold out forever and never make the first move and be so tough and strong and silent and not say anything. But at the same time, then it just makes it awkward. We live in a small town and the world is small anyways. I don't want to make it awkward for mutual friends ever. I don't want it to be like I walk into a coffee shop and then it's like, oh, I can't talk to her. We don't like each other, right? I have this beef. It's not fun. So I have been trying to just completely reframe how I am socially. And if someone did something to me in the past that I didn't like, what's the big deal? Like, was it that significant that it's worth continuing to hold on to? No. Luckily, I don't have many of those. If it was, there's probably still a way to work through things, because I have hurt other people. I've been the bad person, the villain, and I'm sure plenty of stories. And I would hope that they would understand that I've changed as well. And if someone's still holding me, as the same image of the person that I was 4 years ago or 6 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever else, then, that's selling me and my growth short. So it's not fair to continue to do that for somebody else and be like, well, she did this to me 3 years ago. She's probably a different person. That frontal cortex is developing every day. We gotta show some grace. Easier said than done, like I said, but I've always been more on the kill 'em with kindness train anyways, because you never want to be that person that's like crazy behind closed doors and then things get screenshotted and sent out of context, and next thing you know, like, you've hurt more people than you've intended and so on. So I always try and show kindness even whenever I'm hurt or I'm angry. But now I'm like, I don't want it to just be showing kindness. I want it to just be unbothered. I want it to be feeling like these things roll off of me. They didn't do it for me. They did it for themselves. It is what it is. So people didn't do things to you. They did it for them. And that's all there is to it. Next, socially, let go of the expectation that you can be all things to all people, which I just said. But you can't be the person who's planning every shower, who's planning all the birthdays, who's the first person to show up when someone's sad, who's holding someone accountable in workouts, who's praying with somebody else. You can try, but at least in my my experience with my limitations as a person, it's just not possible. And sometimes I get down on myself for being unable to do everything I feel like I should be doing, especially whenever you consider, being a wife should take up more of your mental and emotional real estate, because that's who comes first in your life if you're in that kind of a relationship. And if you're a parent, that comes even first. Maybe it depends how you rank them. I don't know. And then you have family, and then you have close friends, and then you have everybody else. And sometimes I feel bad because I know that there's people in my life that see me as the person who doesn't text back, or there are people who see me as flakier than others because I just can't. It hasn't worked out that my plans have been able to stay with them, or we haven't been able to find a time that our schedules have lined up and so on. Or people see me as somebody who's scattered, and last time we had coffee, I was, had one eye on the door because I was about to be late for something else. And I hate that. And it really bothers me that there are people who have that impression of me that's not my best foot being put forward. Or like the last 4 times I texted Hannah, like, she hasn't texted back for 3 days, and then we couldn't get coffee. And it's like, are you really that busy? Sometimes. And it's not even that busy as far as like, oh my gosh, everybody wants to hang out with me. It's just trying to stay afloat in life and in business and health and everything else, sometimes you don't have that time. And that's something that I'm trying to let go of, because then it becomes pressure to think I have to see this person. It's been too long. Or like the last 2 times they asked me to have coffee, I couldn't do it then either. So now I really have to make it happen. And a lot of the time it's genuinely something that I want to do. It's just I get overwhelmed, and then I get behind on work, or I get behind and I haven't been to the gym for a couple days, or I haven't really spent what I feel like is quality time with Austin. And those just have to be priorities, And I'm trying to let go of the fact that you can't always be that person that, oh my gosh, every time I call her, she picks up. I really, really want to be. But sometimes you're doing things outside of being with your phone that would allow you to pick up for everyone else all the time. It's just very difficult. But I think that's growth for myself, trying not to be constantly available, constantly accessible, and so on and so forth. That's a difficult lesson to learn, at least for me. It's okay to be hard to reach. It's okay to be a bad texter. This has been a full circle moment for me, because before I used to be like, it's not hard to text. It really isn't. You can text back. I promise you can find time to text back. You're on TikTok. But now I am a different person. Once again, I humbly apologize and come before you saying I am a bad texter, because sometimes you've had a whole day, whether I'm in my house on screens constantly communicating for work, or I'm out, then you get home and you're socially burnt out. You've been talking all day, you've been checking your phone, you've been doing these things and figuring it out, and you just want to sit down and turn your brain off. And a lot of people's escape is social media. So God forbid you get on Instagram and you're scrolling and you post a silly little photo to your story without texting someone back. That always makes me feel so bad, but I think it's okay. And a lot of my friends, we've had this constant, like, I'm sorry, I'm just a bad texter, I've been overwhelmed. And then it's a constant, like, girl, I get it, me too. And the more I realize that we're all in the same boat of struggling to stay on top of things, the more I feel like it's okay. And this constant accessibility is a new thing. It's not something that our parents dealt with. It's not something that even, 10 years ago, older siblings might have dealt with. It's very, very new to think that you can have everybody at your fingertips all the time. And you can't unplug, because people are also watching what you're doing via social media. So they can see if you're ignoring them, they can see that you're doing something else, and they can see your priorities in a way that was never apparent before. Whereas I assume previously, or to those without social media who might be the smarter ones of us, then you could not answer someone's phone call, and then they would have no idea of knowing what you're doing, because they have no way to see it. But now there's this weird feeling of, if I can't answer someone's phone call because I either don't feel like talking, or I can't talk, or I'm busy, then there's almost like a guilt or a shame associated with like being online in a way that they might not deem is appropriate for you to have not gotten back to them. And for me, the line is very blurred because of my work being so closely intertwined with my personal life, that if I get an email at 4:45 and I don't respond to it, but then I'm posting a photo of myself watching House of the Dragon, that person could be my Instagram pal and see that I'm not responding to their email, but I'm obviously online and can. And if they're not somebody that has a healthy work-life balance or has a healthy expectation of what I should be doing in my role, they could get mad at me. And for a long time, I just think that ruled my life. So no more. We're not doing that. Oh, this is a good one. Me about the notes that I wrote for myself. It's okay to be in phases of social burnout. Honestly, I feel like I'm in a phase kind of like that right now, where I just don't have the energy to small talk or to just have excessive social obligations. And it's different with people that have kind of like transcended friendship into that close, like family circle almost. But I go through phases where I want to have coffee with everybody. I want to chat with everyone. I want to have cocktails and happy hour and visit and socialize and everything else. And I'm just in a phase where I'm craving alone time lately. And that sometimes makes me anxious, one, for all the reasons that I just mentioned, where I feel bad saying no if I don't have a good enough reason. And we forget that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to have a reason. You can just not be able to make something. So I've been trying to step back on my social yeses, but then there's kind of a lingering fear where it's like, well, people will stop asking you, or people will they'll forget about you if you aren't constantly at these things, and FOMO and whatever else. It just starts to tell you that the world will move on without you if you aren't constantly present and constantly saying yes. And that's also just not the case. So it's okay to go through phases of social burnout. It's also okay to go through phases that you never want to be alone. And I think as long as there are phases, and overall, as your life stretches out, you kind of have a balance going on, you're all good, in my professional opinion. At least I hope so, because that's what I'm doing. So I'm kind of taking a little step back. And I don't know, I just feel like I really neglected time with myself for a while, and I'm trying to get back to that because I realize how recharging it is for me as somebody who's, I like to think, equal parts intro and extroverted. Next, let's do physical health because I feel like that is a good next step. Physical health, I talked about how I'm not doing sugar right now. And that's not like a hard and fast, I'm not doing sugar. I had got crumble both weeks because the cookie lineup was amazing. I'm just trying to cut back on sugar. And by that, I mean, most of the time, choosing the least sugary option. So my coffee that I've been drinking is just a regular oat milk latte, nothing added. It at first shocked me. It felt like a punch in the tongue because it was so bitter. And after like 2 days, I was like, oh, it's not actually bitter. I just was so used to having so much sugar and cold foam and everything in every single drink. So working on detoxing that and changing my taste buds back to like the baseline and not the green, like nuclear dye radiating version that they had been previously. So just choosing healthier options. I've been trying to also eat more protein because I know that my diet has been deficient in that for a long time. So, and I hate eating meat, not for any ethical reason, which would be really great to say. I just don't like it. I don't like the texture. I usually don't like it. I like some things, but of course it's like steak, which you either, I shouldn't afford it. I couldn't pay for it every day. And I also shouldn't probably have red meat every day. I don't know. I'm not the liver king, but I've been trying to just be more balanced with that. And I think this is a time in my life where I am healthy enough mentally to take that on. And here's what I mean by that. I've gone through different phases where I was very, very restrictive and very obsessive over my eating. And there's a whole episode about this. It's called Fitness, Food, and Finally Loving Your Body if you want to go back and listen to that one. But I had, my weight awakening, which I think every girl has at some point in their life. When I was watching Make It or Break It, I saw one of the girls had an eating disorder and she was so tiny and so skinny, even though it was an actress. But then you start to think, like, I could do that. I could copy what she's doing. She's working out all the time. She's doing this. So, of course, being young and impressionable, and then you start to see other girls that are thinner than you, you kind of just have this cognizance of your physical body for the first time. And I don't want to over assume, but I think that every girl probably has one of those. And it, since then, whenever I was probably in 8th grade, has been a roller coaster of I'm being super restrictive. I'm counting calories for everything. I'm eating celery for dessert and calling it a treat. And I'm using fitness trackers and weighing myself and so on, to then I'll cycle back out of it and then go through a crazy college drinking phase and having Domino's delivered to the house all the time and being like, I don't care about my weight and everything. And then having a weird wake up call where I'm like, oh, I put on 30 pounds. And then again, going full reverse mode. So it's been like a huge up and down for me. It's really never been level. And a few years back, whenever I went off birth control, whenever we got married, then I gained weight, but I was already kind of eating healthy anyways. So there wasn't a whole lot for me to change because I was already doing the healthy baseline of things to do. And I had kind of made up my mind that I didn't want to do something like a crash diet or do something super reckless because I knew how wavery that line was for me. So that was very difficult because I was in a place that I was proud of as far as my weight and my appearance. So then to gain weight due to reasons that I couldn't control and then resist the temptation to like, oh, well, I'll just starve myself and then lose the weight. To resist that was really challenging because I knew that I had unhealthy ways that worked. I knew that I had done things in the past that could get me skinnier faster. And I also knew how difficult it was to overcome that and to get yourself to a point that you can gain healthy weight and be happy with your body and how it performs and not just how it looks. And you can see the number on the scale go up and not freak out about it. So I really just didn't want to go back to that. So it took me like 9 months to level back out and get everything back to how it was. And that was a very long year. But finally, I remember coming back to myself and being like, well, at least I didn't give myself another complex. So since then, I think that it's been unlearning disordered eating. And like I tend to do, I overcorrected. So I went from being super restrictive to then being healthier and then almost overcorrecting to the point where I'm like, screw everyone. I'm going to have this bag of Nerds clusters. I'm going to have this breakfast sandwich. I'm going to have a sugary coffee every day and just work out enough to balance it out. And I mean, metabolism definitely plays a part in it. And I'm still only 25. So I'm sure that will not be a luxury that I have the rest of my life. But it's almost like I corrected it to a point where I'm like, I want to prove, probably mostly to myself, that disordered eating has no power over me anymore. I'm going to go so anti-restriction that I'm having whatever I want all the time, only dessert, super unhealthy food. And that is almost going to become a new idol for me because now I'm not governed by all these restrictive behaviors. So luckily, like I said, somehow my workout and metabolism combination has stayed ahead of that, which is great, but it's not good for you internally. And for someone who is so focused on weight constantly and appearance, to finally realize that's not good either. Just because you're mentally fine and you have a good relationship with food in that way doesn't mean that it's still not the smart idea to opt for a salad sometimes, or it's not the smart idea to maybe not have sugary drinks every day. So that's where I'm at now. I finally feel like I'm at a place where I can cut back on some of those craving foods or sugary foods or really anything, because that's just the healthier choice without it then becoming obsessive. Like, oh, I can't have any sugar. I can't have this. Like I said, if Crumble's lineup is fire, I'm going to go eat one of every cookie, and that's fine. But I'm also not going to make it into, well, now I can go every night because screw everybody, I'm not dieting. I hope that makes sense. But it's very difficult. And I think sometimes with people who have struggled with their relationship with food in the past, even if you've recovered from that, it can be hard to go into a period of eating healthy for different reasons that don't pertain to weight, because it's just a slippery slope and it can trigger you very easily or make you backslide. And, for me, especially like knowing how thin I can get, it's always kind of in the back of your head. Like, I know how lean I was. I know the last time I weighed less than this. I know all of these things. And then to see your weight, like right now, I've probably gained, I don't know, like a good 12 to 15 pounds from my thinnest adult weight. And sometimes I'm like, I remember whenever I was 15 pounds lighter than this and I was super, super cut and super lean and these clothes used to hang off of me. And to know that you have the potential to be at that weight, but then also knowing that's not very healthy at all. You were miserable. You were always cranky. You're always cold. You felt horrible. You're getting sick all the time. And you had a horrible relationship with like binging and restricting and so on. Anywho, all that to say, I have been working towards healthy eating and like not going the whole day without having anything and just get a massive dinner, like protein for breakfast, protein for lunch. I love little rice cakes with tuna on top of them and lots of hot sauce. I love Greek yogurt. I love protein pancakes from Sam's covered in peanut butter. Lots of options for girls who are not great cooks either. So healthy meals during the day, that's another tip for me. Also, not really a tip, I guess. It's just where I'm at. But find a good balance where you're nourishing your body and eating healthy food because you deserve to be healthy, not just because you think that you need to be thin in order to deserve to be happy. Damn, that was good. Okay. It's kind of the same vein, but I'll say it anyways. I love to vary my workouts. You guys know this. I go from spin to Pilates to weightlifting to the track to running. I just love to have workouts that feel like what I want to do that day. And every day feels kind of different. Some days, like yesterday, I really didn't feel like doing anything. I only went to the gym because I had already told my brother I'd meet him there and I didn't want to back out. So luckily I went because I felt amazing afterwards, but that's always the case. Sorry, hiccup. Sometimes you feel horrible. You go to the gym, you still feel horrible. You have a bad workout and then you leave and you just feel dejected and like, that was supposed to make me feel happier. That was supposed to fix things and it didn't fix things. Sometimes I go to the gym and feel amazing and then your body's just not really on that day. So there's a million different variations of it. And I think I've gotten a lot better again as I've healed from my obsessive eating habits and working out to feel like if I have a bad day where I genuinely just feel exhausted and depleted, what is the point of going to the gym? Like, why would I force myself to go and then just make it seem like a chore or seem like something that I hate and drag myself there, give myself negative connotations if I can just give myself a day or two and then want to go again? So that happened to me a week or so ago whenever I was having my female hormone times, and which I could just say period because men don't listen to this, let's be honest. But I feel like I always do this thing where I get so hard on myself when I'm PMSing and think, who am I? I'm so exhausted. I have headaches. I'm so groggy. I just feel horrible. This isn't me. I usually have so much more energy. And I start to panic and think that for some reason that's like my new permanent state of existence. And then, of course, I get my period and I'm like, oh, that was all that is. And then lo and behold, 4 days later, I'm like, I'm a new woman. This feels amazing. And then I go and perform the entire dramatized dance number to Lay All Your Love on Me by ABBA. So everything is fine. But now learning that I can just take what I know, which is that you will feel like working out again. discipline yourself if you're having like a month. Maybe if you feel like you haven't wanted to do anything for a month, maybe at some point you have to say, okay, I don't feel like doing it, but it will be good for me. And give yourself grace. On the other hand, you'll want to do it again, so you don't have to today. It's going to be okay. So because of that, and because I'm not like, you have to get to the gym today, it doesn't feel like a punishment or an obligation. I just like to do it. And I vary things enough that I don't get bored. So yeah, all I have to say about that. Also, if you ever are lacking in motivation, one thing that has helped me is the saved folder of all the edits that you can do of any characters, really. Like you can have Beyonce, like an edit of Beyonce just killing it on stage. You can have edits of superheroes. You can have edits of Glenn Powell, really whoever else. But like something about the cadence of the edits and like the way it's synced to music, it just gets my blood pumping. Like even the Aura Ring knows it. It's like, did you just work out? And I'm like, no, I was just watching edits for 30 minutes. So sorry, I'm sighing a lot today. It's the altitude. Moving along, financial health. This is difficult, and I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't presume to know everyone's situation. But I wanted to note that for me, I have never, I always try, but I've never found any purchase that has made me significantly happier or taken away my stress. So when I shop or whenever I impulse purchase, you get that endorphin rush and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then usually it's followed by buyer's remorse. And then I start to think, why did I spend that much money? What did I do? And even if it's thrifting, you know, you go to a thrift store and you spend $60 and then you leave and I'm like, why did I spend that? I did not have to spend that. It was totally fine. And you like the clothes, but you're like, it didn't change. It didn't move the needle for my overall joy. So I have been not shopping as much because there's nothing, one, I don't need anything, but also it's not providing any value to my life. And those tiny purchases overall weren't adding or subtracting from our overall financial spot. But my opinion and relationship with finances has been that the only financial position that has made me significantly happier is security. So saving money, stocking it away for the inevitable roof leak, brake failure, air conditioning going out, things that, you know, have all happened to me in the past 2 months. Those things are what give me more peace, just knowing like, okay, if that popped up, we could handle it. You lose a stone from your ring, insurance won't cover it, we can handle it. So it's not sexy and it's not fun. It's not like vacations and everything else, even though I've been fortunate enough to be able to take a few of those, probably largely because of credit card points. But it feels like it finally clicked for me that there's never going to be a purchase or something that I swipe my card for or like an Amazon order that just makes me, oh, that was what I was missing. Like I was missing this Laneige lip mask that now everything's great. And I always think that it will, and it doesn't. So I think I've also been reminding myself that like there's not one thing that I'm missing that will make my life exponentially better. There's nothing that I could get. And on the same token, you know, there's nothing, well, I would be very sad if I lost some of my belongings, but there's nothing that can be taken away, like a physical object, that would greatly be a detriment to my life, except for my stuffed animal Bambi. I would turn this world inside out if anything happened to him. I have such an emotional attachment, but I won't elaborate. All that to say, if you're an impulse purchaser, if you're an emotional spender, just know the only thing that I have personally found that has made me feel any inkling of joy in relation to money has been security. So that's my newest passion, is investing in security and saving and investing, period, and just setting up that foundation for myself, because the little things, the trends and the cute water bottles, like everything that has cycled through will continue to cycle through, but it's always cool to have money in savings. And I know that's not always realistic depending on everyone's financial situation, and the economy is very, very volatile right now, and I understand it's incredibly difficult to pay for things and sometimes have money left over for saving at all, especially if you have kids, if they play youth sports. Like, I don't pretend to know everyone's situation. This is more of just my observation for myself that, I bought a lot of things and nothing really actually makes me happy. And that also can help with some jealousy. You know, you see people online that are constantly doing this overconsumption, always have a new haul, always have this. That wouldn't make you happy either. It's cool to watch. It's cool to see the unboxing and the crinkling of the paper and whatever else. They have 18 Stanleys and 47 different spray sanitizers in their car. That's very cool. That's not going to make you happier. So set yourself free of all that. I hope that made sense. Next, and finally, we're going to go with mental health. This is the big dog. This is everything. What everything stems from. So mental health, it kind of is an amalgamation of all of these things I just discussed, because if you have, good focus on your social, financial, and physical health, I think that mental health can be driven by a lot of those things. But on the flip side, if you don't have good mental health, you'll have no motivation to save money because you don't care. You'll have no motivation to work out because you don't care. You'll have no motivation to socialize because you won't care. So they do rely on each other in different ways. But for me, mental health has been a huge driver of just everything, because I, again, take a shot every time I say I'm an extremist. I don't really do things healthily halfway. So finding a good balance that's not dependent on my life circumstances has been a constant battle for me. These are the things that have helped me. Allow me to list them and then go into great detail, as I often do. So my biggest thing has been, can I change it? No. Then why is it occupying my time? So much easier said than done, but this goes back to what I was saying in the report, which is I'm loving putting things in a box. That's helpful sometimes. Sometimes it's not helpful. So I think that that's up to oneself to decide what works for you. But for me, you guys know what I'm struggling with. You guys know what I'm sad about. And that is a situation that's not going to change until my situation changes. I'm going to continue to be ho-hum and gloom, ho-hum and glum until I have a baby, because that's what I'm wanting and praying for the most right now. And unfortunately, sadness does not make that happen faster. Otherwise, I would be octomom. But I think that it's been a big learning experience for me to kind of be like, you know what? I'm just tired of being sad. I'm tired of feeling like there's always something that I'm missing. And grief is difficult because you have, for me, grief and longing kind of coexisting, and waiting and anxiety for all these unknowns and so on. You can't make them go away. And for all of the let go and let God and just trust God's plan and do this, sometimes you need what does that mean? Does that mean write these things down and put them into a box and bury the box? Like, what do I need to go make some kind of offering to God? Like, what do I do? How do I let go of it? Because even if I pray to let go of it, it's still all in me. So with all of this, it's been a big conscious decision to be like, I'm tired of being sad. I'm tired of fixating on this. I'm tired of feeling like this stage of my life is wasted because I don't have what I want. Or I'm tired of feeling like I'm bitter or angry because my prayers haven't been answered, and so on. So I've just decided all that's going into a box. It's going to be tied up with a nice little ribbon, maybe some zip ties, and I'm burying it in the depths of my soul, because it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help me be grateful for what I do have. On the contrary, it takes all the focus away from all the things that I should be thankful for right now. It doesn't help anything happen faster. It doesn't give me a better marriage. It doesn't give me a better friendship with anybody. It doesn't make me more pleasant to be around or even to be inside my own head. It's making me negative. And I think sometimes in situations where you're working through something that is able to be worked through, you should not shove that shit down. You should be talking about it. If it's something you can work through. If it's something that's out of your control that you can't change, it's just something you have to learn to live with, don't fixate on it. Don't talk about it ad nauseum if you don't need to. So I am a talker at heart, if you didn't know. But for emotional things, I just get tired of carrying them. I get tired of being sad, and not in a way where I'm like, I'm so exhausted, I'm giving up, but more in a way that's like, I don't want to give any more of this sadness life. I want to just focus on all the blessings I have, focus on the good stages of life, focus on what I have now, and not feed this little flame that's always kind of burning and like threatening to consume me. Hope that makes sense. But I'm just trying to keep these stressors at bay behind a big fence with a moat and a dragon. That probably doesn't make sense either. But every season of your life is going to have some kind of nostalgia. And that's been something that I've learned without fail throughout my entire life, is that even those stages whenever I was working 2 jobs and I was so stressed about school and my apartment was never clean and my car was breaking down, I still look back on that and I'm like, oh, I miss that apartment. I miss those coworkers. I miss this. That was so fun. Look how young I was. And I was not happy then. Or those days whenever I was like up to my absolute eyeballs in college stuff and trying to pay off debt and living alone and honestly kind of lonely and was doing long distance. I was like, oh, I used to watch The Office every night and have those little mug cakes from the Dollar Tree. That was such a good time. I'm like, it wasn't though. I didn't feel like it was at the time, But everything in life is always so nostalgic when you look at it in hindsight. And I know that this stage will be too. So I'm trying to recognize, like, what am I going to love about this stage when I look back on it? You know, God willing, in a few years, whenever I have a house full of screaming, rambunctious children that are like, Mommy, put on X-Men. When I have that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what did I do to deserve this? I want to look back and think about, oh my gosh, I remember whenever I could just go podcast for hours and not even worry about it. I remember whenever I could call my friends up and we could do a lake weekend, or I could go for a workout and be gone for however long and nobody was waiting for their chicken nuggets. So I'm trying to think about, what will I be nostalgic for in this stage of life when it's gone forever? So I'll take the extra time with my husband staying up late and talking. I will go see my grandparents more often. I'll take extra Pilates classes with my friends and just trying to soak it up. So if you're in like a college stage and you are like, I just can't wait to start my life and be out in the real world, look around and find the things that you will miss that are going to be gone, because I promise you will miss them. Every stage we look at in rose-colored goggles when we're looking in the past, we're like, oh, it was so great. So what will that be about your life now? And if you're a mom with little kids, I can't pretend to know what that's like, but I know there are things that you'll miss. And I know there are things that you're going to look back on and be like, oh, those were the good old days. Like when my kids could both fit in the same car seat, like their arms weren't long enough to, like, not the same car seat, the same back seat. And their arms weren't long enough to reach each other across the car, and they couldn't fight. It was so great. So whatever you can think of, even if it's the tiniest thing, like when I move out of this apartment, I won't be so close to my favorite coffee shop. Whatever it is, just find things that you think that you will be nostalgic for and hold on to those, because it's very difficult whenever you look back and, you know, you reminisce on times that you can't access anymore, people that you lost touch with. And I think that that's really helped me just be more present and positive and think, you know, this is all going to be fleeting one day. And I'm going to look back and think, oh my gosh, I miss this, I miss that. And that's why I'm trying to cherish it as much as I can now. Also, there's this quote from Pastor Craig Groeschel of Life Church that I can't remember explicitly, but it's like, why would God trust you with more if you haven't proven that you recognize what you're blessed with now? Let me try again. Why would God give you more if you don't thank him enough for what you have now? Or why would he trust you with more if you haven't taken good enough care of what you have now? A million different ways you could say it. I'm probably going to say it wrong even if I do it a third time. But all that to say, I kind of had this wake-up call where I'm like, why would God give me more if I'm over here like, my life sucks. I don't have anything I want. God isn't answering my prayers. He's not listening. I'm journaling. He's not answering me. Meanwhile, God's like, girl, do you want me to show you your prayer files from the past 5 years? Every single one of them has approved. What else do you want? So then I'm over here being ungrateful because he's not answering the one I've been praying for less than a year. So for me, it was kind of a wake-up call where I said, oh, those prayers that you answered. Yeah, I still like those. Those are great. The house and the husband and the health and the cancer-free mom and all these things. Yeah, this is great too. So it was humbling for me to kind of admit that to myself, that I'm overlooking all of these blessings, things that I know other people are praying for, things that I have prayed for. And truly, I'm living a life that if you would have told me even, you know, a year ago, a little over a year ago, I would be so happy with everything that I have and where I'm at. And to reduce that to only looking at the prayer that I'm not having answered is such a waste of everything else that I've been given. Mic drop. Do I have any other notes? Because that was pretty good. I do, but they weren't honestly as strong as that one. The other thing, it says hobbies, not capital letters. I've talked about this a million times. Hobbies are so good for you. You have to have something to channel your energy into, to fill your days with, to make you happy. I've had a whole episode about hobbies, and I'm not gonna jump into that right now. But it's just good. Find things that you love, that you're passionate about, or even that you're not, that just give you time to decompress and to quiet your mind. Anyways, those are my tips on how to be healthy. I'm trying to work on it in a holistic way and not be healthy in the sense that it's like, I'm only eating rice cakes. I'm only listening to David Goggins. I'm only grinding for my business 28 hours a day. I'm trying to pursue health in like a balanced way. And for me, in the past, that hasn't always looked like health, because I'm like, I could do more, but I could be healthier. But I could be healthier in a more extreme way. What if I did that instead? And that's also not health. So this is my way of putting myself into like the equivalent of a puppy pen, where you have your dog and you like build that little plastic fence around them and you keep them in there. So then if they go any way in any direction, there's like a parameter. That's me in all aspects. Okay, we're being healthy. We're being balanced. We're being self-aware. We're being productive, but not so much so. we're being conscientious of our decisions. I'll keep you guys posted on how that goes. But that's all we've got for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for bearing with me. Shout out to Olipop for not sponsoring this episode, but maybe one day a girl can dream. Thank you guys. Happy Thursday. I hope you have all mountains, no valleys. Treat yourself on Friday. Tag me if you do. I want to see what you're doing. I want to be envious of the coffees that you're drinking, especially if they're sugary. Maybe I'll treat myself too, because like I said, life's about balance. Thanks for listening. Love you guys. Bye.